Hi mate, just turned up to pick the van up for my shift and there's a tracker being installed on the van. What's that about, mate? Oh, nothing to worry about, Baz. Putting them in all the vehicles, that's all. What they for though, mate? Mainly just in case someone steals a van for our insurance. Right, so are we going to get done if the tracker picks up stuff we're doing wrong? Well, you don't need to worry about that if you're not doing anything, do you, mate? Haha. Seriously now? Well, yeah, mate, we can do. Are you sure that's right legally? Okay, let's get into that. There's so much to cover on this, I'll try and keep it really short and sweet. First of all, we're going to assume that Baz, I'm going to guess his name's Barry, not his first day of working there. So I'm guessing this is a new practice that's been introduced after he started working. It does make a difference. Ideally, they would have consulted with staff before they introduced these trackers because it does affect their personal data and there are data protection considerations. And they are changing policies and procedures and terms and conditions. Well, it sounds like they haven't done that. So already we're not off to a great start. Most companies will argue they've got a good business reason for doing so, sometimes even a legal obligation where their insurers have forced them to put these trackers in. But this should have been communicated to the staff. Now, whilst we're talking about personal data, the company will need a lawful basis to collect this data under GDPR. Usually they choose legitimate interests or a legal obligation. They need to make sure that the data they're collecting is justified, necessary, and there are no less intrusive methods for collecting the data they need for their objective. They should also make sure that it's written into any relevant policies, data protection policy, privacy notice, and communicate to staff how it's going to be collected, stored, shared, processed. In terms of using it for misconduct, I would expect that to be written as a possibility in the disciplinary policy and communicated to staff in the data protection policy. If an employer hasn't done any of that and the employee does something that is that significant that warrants using that data in order to prove misconduct, sometimes in the most serious cases, say for example an employee's been caught doing 100 miles an hour down the motorway, they've clearly broken the law, they've clearly breached health and safety, then the employer needs to weigh up the employee's expectation of privacy against the legitimate interests of the company and the safety of others. But on a practical level, it's not great. These sudden changes, they never go down well. Most commonly, employer will try and put this change in place and then they'll wait and they'll see whether they get any feedback from it, hoping that it's just going to maybe ruffle a few feathers, but probably isn't going to come to much. Even if it doesn't come to much, and even if they do manage to push it through legally, it is likely to have an effect on the workforce, morale, trust, loyalty. So there's other things to be aware of as well.